There is no such thing as a rapture. No, none of the early Christians believed in a rapture. No one through Christendom believed into a rapture until the 1800s, when John Darby invented the rapture by taking different aspects of your Bible and making it into this nice little pretty thing that says that, oh, those 3.5 years of terrible times when the Antichrist come, you're not going to have to deal with them. You're going to be pre-tribulation. And those 3 years prior to that, when the world is thrown in upheaval, you're not going to have to deal with that, because you're going to be pre-raptured before the tribulation. And it's a good story. It makes you feel good. It makes you think that you're special. And so you cling on to it, because there's no reason a person with an intellectual mind, with the information available, would still believe in the rapture. The rapture's fake, bruh. Plain and simple. And let me tell you a few other things about your book when it comes to your end time prophecies that are never going to happen, and how it doesn't make any sense. Now, first, but before I go there, let's talk about the rapture. Let's talk about the rapture. So Paul believed, which is most of your Christianity is Paulinian Christianity. Paul believed that Paul wrote that you should stay as even as you are. You should not seek out marriage. You should not seek out any of those things of the world, because Jesus was expected to return before Paul died. The reason why Paul believed this, because Paul was reading manuscripts that said that Jesus said that there were those who among us today who will not taste death before he returned. So for mid-first century Christians believed that Jesus would return within a 40-year period. So therefore, they thought that Jesus was going to return then. Now, when he didn't, when Paul died and everybody else died and Jesus hadn't returned, 100, 80 years go by, 90 years go by, 100 years go by. Now they had to start to try to change it up. Same way when I explained how the Seventh-day Adventists had to change up Ellen G. White's prophecies when they didn't come true, because Jesus was supposed to return before she died, but he didn't. So they had to change it up. We got to make it fit so that they can stick with this religion. Then that's what Darby did. He changed it up, because they all thought that Jesus was going to return, and you didn't. So that's a failed prophecy. That should make Paul a false prophet. That should make Jesus a false prophet. So you shouldn't be believing in any of this stuff, because according to your Old Testament, if somebody makes a prophecy claim and it does not happen, then they are a false prophet. This is why Jesus is a false prophet. Now, let's talk about your revelations for a second, because your whole 5 wise virgin thing is just a little metaphor for stay ready. All right, stay ready, but you staying ready for something that ain't gonna happen. Now, Revelations, the 7 years of tribulation. It starts with these 7 seals, and then 7 scrolls, and then 7 bowls. Have you ever actually looked at that stuff and thought about it scientifically? Because if you look at it and think about it scientifically, and I know I'm not going to say them in order, I'm not going to say all of them anyway, but I want you to think about something. One of those things is that you're going to have all the waters on the planet turn to blood. Now, your Bible doesn't say how long they're going to be blood. But for shits and giggles, let's just say, since there is 30 minutes of silence in heaven at one point, that all the waters turn to blood for only 30 minutes. And the reason why I'm going to say only 30 minutes, because it has to be temporary. Otherwise, there's a contradiction in your Bible. Because when one of the other seals are broken or bowls poured out, an asteroid is supposed to come down and hit the earth, and it's supposed to poison all the water. Well, if the water is already blood, then the water is already poison. So the water must have to turn back into water in order for an asteroid to come down and then poison the water again. But let's say 30 minutes. Because, of course, if it was blood for a month, a year, 2 years, 5 years, you already know what the results are going to be. But even for 30 minutes, if all the waters on the planet turn to blood for 30 minutes, everything in the ocean, everything in the lakes, the ponds, the streams, the rivers, everything is dead. D-E-A-D, dead. 80% of our oxygen comes from the ocean through plankton. They're all dead. When the oceans die, we die. Now, the land animals, they'll be able to live for maybe about a good 2-3 weeks before they all die of dehydration, because there's no water. It's all blood. They're dead. the humans, we might be able to live about 5 or 6 months, be able to get water from eating fruits and things, of fruits and vegetables. Might be able to survive for about 5, 6 months. But after that, 99% of the human population, D-E-A-D, dead. Dead. So when that happens, the rest of the stuff don't really matter too much, because then you poison the water again, dead. That 99%, they're dead. Or when when this angel is, the 4 angels at the side of the Euphrates before it dries up are released to kill a third of the population, dead. And then where they're going to get this 250-man army from if 99% of the population is dead? You see what I'm saying? You see how your revelations don't add up. Now, what I'm gonna take some time. I'm gonna do those in order. Not on this video. I'm gonna do them in order and show you how idiotic it is. Not on this video, but look for it coming real soon. Maybe that'll be the live on Wednesday night live. Maybe that's what we're gonna talk about on this Wednesday night live. But which will be at 7 p.m. Central Time Zone, since I'm now in San Antonio. But dude, stop believing in this bullshit about the rapture. There is no rapture. John Darby made that shit up in order to facilitate a justification as to why Paul was wrong. And if Paul was wrong, he's a false prophet. But if Jesus was wrong, then that would make Jesus wrong. False prophet. There is no rapture. Revelation is really for those people at that time frame, and they were talking about the Roman Empire. They were not talking about today. It is not for today. Plus, we would all be dead based on that thing. And yeah, you could take it as symbolisms and all this sort of thing, but some of that stuff you can't take as symbolism. All the waters are turned to blood. What's the symbolism of that? And it's not look like blood, turn to blood. Let's be very clear about that. It says turn to blood. What do you guys think? Like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, and always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration.